Welcome to the UNSECURITY podcast. Each week, Evan and Brad give an inside look at current information security news, breaches, best practices, and other things you should know to improve your information security. Here are your hosts, FR Secure's Evan Francine and Brad Nye.
Hey, good morning. This is episode 31 of the UNSECURITY podcast. Today is Monday, June 10th. 2019, and joining me as always is Mr. Brad Nye. Brad, do you want to say hi?
Hi.
So what's going on, man? You had an incident response this weekend.
I did.
How'd that go?
I mean, it's an incident response. They were really good, and they caught the phishing email and did an enterprise-wide passwords reset within 24, 28 hours of the initial email coming in, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
But they didn't have all the right logging turned on. So,
yeah.
It kind of, limited what we could do.
So we jumped right into it this morning. It's because I have two computers sitting in front of me. Today I have the one that we're recording on.
Yeah.
And I think I have all the notifications, but I heard one just pop up while we were just talking, and then I got the iPad over to the right of me.
It's because you're a security guy. You need lots of gadgets.
Yeah, pretty much an expert.
Yeah.
That's what people...
I've heard people say that about you.
What does it take to be an expert? Is it just if you get paid? That makes you a professional.
Yeah.
What makes you an expert?
Isn't it the 10,000 hours is kind of which is what, 5 years?
Well, it depends.
Roughly.
If you go by my wife's math in episode 16.
Yes. you might have sped up that timeline, but
yeah, just like 2 years or something. All right. So, lots of things going on around here. I don't know if you did see my, show notes for this week. Last week was crazy, man. For me, I didn't even have a chance to talk to you much.
No.
How was your week?
It was good. Busy, but yeah, good.
Yeah. I met a lot of good people. We finished up our mentor program.
Yes.
This week. If you're a mentor program listener, or even if you're somebody who likes barbecue, stop by the office on Wednesday, this Wednesday, 2 days from now at 6:00. You and I will be cooking up smoking some meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we going to smoke?
I don't know. Just do wings.
Wings?
Wings are good.
All right.
We do a lot of
We
wings.
could do wings. Are we going to bring like potlucky stuff too?
Yeah, it'd probably be good for people to maybe bring in some sides or something.
Potato salad?
Yeah.
People like potato salad. Do you like potato salad?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. All right, so that's Wednesday, and then our next Hacks and Hops event is on the calendar. Finally.
Yeah.
September 9th?
19th.
Okay. There's a lot of nines in that one. September 19th.
9/19/19.
Yeah, September. Oh my gosh. Is there something with that?
I don't know.
All right, so September 19th, 2019 is our next Hacks and Hops event, and we're going to be talking about incident response.
Yeah.
Man, that's a popular topic right now.
It is.
Everybody's kind of interested, which is good. I think what's being exposed a lot, sort of in our industry, is just the lack of planning and maybe the lack of effective planning. And unfortunately, some people find that out when the bad thing happens, right?
Yeah.
But that'll be good. I'm excited for that one. I think it's going to be our biggest one for sure. It's at the U.S. Bank Stadium.
It's going to be pretty cool.
Right. Not the whole stadium. Can you imagine that?
Soon.
How many people sit in that thing?
60,000, 70,000?
60,000 people talking about security. That'd be sweet. I'll dream. But anyway, yeah, so we're not in the whole U.S. Bank Stadium, but that is where it's located. I think we have 300 maybe tickets that'll go on sale at some point, and I'm sure that'll sell out because...
Yeah, we've sold out the last two, and that was...
I think we've sold out every one of them, haven't we? Three
of them? That's right, we have done 3.
So this will be the fourth, and I'm trying to get some really good panelists. We've always had good panelists, but on this one, I talked to Chris Roberts on Friday. That was another thing that happened last week. I've been emailing back and forth. I think it'd be sweet to have him there because he's a tell it like it is kind of guy, and he's got some chops.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
I haven't talked to Mark Lanterman yet either, but I'm going to ask him.
Yeah, he'd be good.
He would be good.
I got to talk to him. Actually, the first time I'd ever actually talked to him in person, well, on the phone.
Yeah.
We communicated electronically, but yeah, I got to talk to him on Friday.
We got to get some...
Good guy.
We're going to... Yeah, and it reminds me that I've kind of dropped the ball on getting some guests. I was going to get a few, and then I just kind of forget until like show notes time on Friday, and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't reach out to anybody.
I know that's the problem. We're so busy.
Yeah.
During the week, it's like I do the same thing. I'm like, I haven't done notes yet.
Mm-hmm. So your show is next week. You thinking you got a guest maybe?
I'll have to see if I can remember to.
Yeah, we should
get somebody.
Anyway, Hacks and Hops. What else do we have going on? We're hiring.
Yeah.
So we have 6 open positions right now at FR Secure. And they're all pretty cool positions. We've got some analyst positions, got some IR. So if you have some incident response chops, you apply.
Yep.
And we're pretty cool people here.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
I think so.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty cool.
Yeah. We keep getting told by people that come in, like, okay, so when's the other shoe drop? Like, what's the downside? No.
When do we start wearing shoes?
Well, that's how we keep the other shoe from dropping.
It's true. There are no shoes.
No shoes.
All right. But seriously, go online, check out frsecure.com. It's somewhere in there about
careers
or something.
We are professionals, can you tell?
Well, I haven't applied for a job here.
It's true.
I didn't even have to apply for a job here. It was weird, right?
It's probably the first time you've never had to apply for the job.
That's true. I didn't have anybody to impress.
Right.
Oh, God. All right. So anyway, apply. What else? Oh, I had last week I had a great meeting with Matt Stellmacher. If you're in Minnesota and you've been in information security, you've either heard his name or you've met him before. Matt is maybe be a great guest.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy.
He really is. And he's a partner over at White Oak Security, which, on the surface might seem like a competitor, but we do believe that there's plenty of business for everybody. We'd rather work together with those guys, and they're doing fine work.
Yeah. And it's complementary to what we do as well. They do things we don't, we do things they don't. So,
well, especially when you're talking like, red teaming and penetration testing. It comes down to skills and different skill sets, different skill levels. So, if you did a White Oak Security, penetration test and then did an FR Secure penetration test, you'd get value out of both.
Yep, absolutely.
So that was fun. What else? Red Team Security had a lunch with the CEO of Red Team Security, Ryan Manship. That was kind of fun. Red Team is a company that started about the same time as FR Secure, so 2008. Good people. I've seen some of their work before. Always been, impressed. We were just talking business, just talking about, how we can help Red Team Security and how Red Team Security can help, FR Secure, and how together, at the end of the day, that, our customers benefit. So that was cool. What else? Top Dog. So I gave a talk at Summit Brewery last week on Thursday. It was fun, but I've never given a talk before where I had more technical difficulties. So, you're giving your talk and it's like, okay, the screen's out. Okay, the microphone's out.
Oh man.
Okay, screen's back.
But now,
that sucks. I know, because you couldn't get into a flow. You're starting to, because I think, you and I are, I think, a lot alike, where we think very logically. So I'm going through a logical flow, and then
yeah, it stops. Well, I think, everybody's seen our show notes. They're not,
Right.
Here's what we do. It's kind of talking points and we just go.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. And once that thought process and everything gets interrupted, it throws everything off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun though. And then, was that Friday was really cool, man. It was just a great way to end the week. Burcon was at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Got my fanboy, selfie with, Dave Kennedy,
Very cool.
I know, man, he's a cool dude. One of the most positive guys I think I've ever talked to in this industry. For those of you who don't know Dave Kennedy has been around for a long time. Hacking Dave on Twitter, and owner principal at Trusted Sec in outside of Cleveland. I think
just a small.
They're
place.
awesome.
Yeah,
they really are. So it was cool to see him. I ran into a bunch of people. I ran into Jordan Axman, one of our former employees. It was cool to catch up with him. He was speaking there. Ran into 3 of our own guys that I didn't even know were going to be there. I ran into Ryan Cloutier, who was a guest a few podcasts ago. That was fun to hang out with him. Ran into somebody from Medtronic. Spent a few minutes with Chris Roberts after his talk. I mean, it was just a super cool way to finish the week.
That's very cool.
I know next year you and I are going to have to go together. We could hang out there.
Mm.
And then Social Security Studio, other things, for those of you who don't know, there's 2 companies here. There's FR Secure and there's Security Studio. So Security Studio, lots of cool things, putting together a board of directors. I'm excited to announce that soon. I've never done that before. I have no idea what a board of directors even does, other than I've talked to them a lot.
Yeah.
But I've never put one together and had to run one.
Kind of nice to flip it around and be like, so what do you do? Yeah. Instead of the board asking you that.
Right. And so I've been recruiting for the board for the last, month maybe, and get some great people, man. I'm excited to learn. That's what it is. I mean, that's what for me is the most exciting thing about that is just learning from these people. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. There'll be some excitements. We had a meeting. You set up a meeting last week with this company called Quill.
Yep.
That was cool.
That was very cool. Yeah. We met them at Secure 360 actually.
Yeah.
Chatted with them, and they've got a really good, physical security assessment.
Yep.
Methodology and product. So trying to figure out how we can integrate that a little bit.
Yeah. And they were really impressive with their mission. Really was in alignment with ours. Just really good guys.
Yeah.
And we met with the owners of that company. That was cool too.
Yeah.
You didn't have to, work through a bunch of red tape to make something work.
Yeah, that's good. We have a follow-up with them in a couple of weeks, I think.
You already got that going?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're working on that, so.
Cool. And then probably the biggest news of the whole week is I got a new Harley on Tuesday.
Yeah. That was so at you. Like, I was like mid-morning, you're like, I think I'm going to go get a Harley today. And then, yep.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, it was 3 years, almost 3 years to the day that I crashed the last one into the deal.
Yeah. It's been a while. I know you've wanted one, but it was still it was funny.
Yeah. It felt like half my life was missing. And so I put on 500 miles. Just,
you weren't messing Tuesday. Around.
No. So if you want to see a picture of the bike, Betty is her name. It's online too at evanfrancine.com. And really all these things we've been talking about so far. And this is still sort of the opening.
Right.
And I do have a couple of topics that I'd like to talk to you about. That's that. So really cool week. I think this week will be a little less busy for me. What does your week look like?
So I got some new creation stuff coming up.
Nice.
So I've got, the IR finishing that up, and
cool.
some customer sad issues where just going back and standardizing year over year type of reporting. So exciting stuff. It's the day to day.
Yeah.
A Nothing big.
I know we talked yesterday about the IR that you're working on right now. It sounds like that's pretty. I mean, it sounds like the company did a pretty good job of its initial response.
Oh, absolutely. I think so. It's, I think it's just the tying up the loose ends and then doing the worst part of it, the report writing.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I think, I felt bad for the guy I was talking to. He's like, well, we've got a trial of this going and we've started putting this in place and I just hadn't rolled it out. Like all these things that would have potentially stopped it, they have in progress. They're just not quite there. If this had been a month later, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's so classic, right?
Right. Yeah. It's just, it sucks.
We just bought this tool that would, and then you get hacked or something because you're missing that tool.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
Right. Well, it's good though. I was, when we talked on yesterday, it was good to know that things, you weren't going to have to spend another 1,000 hours on this thing. Yeah,
I was very happy with that.
All right. Well, so one of the other things that happened last week is I had another meeting and it just kind of dawned on me that sometimes people have a tendency to sell somebody something without really understanding what the problem is first. And that's a big irritation for me. I was talking with somebody and I spent like I didn't say much in that whole meeting. Really the first half an hour, I just sort of sat there and just listened. And, but I was trying to figure out what the problem is. And I was there with a couple of other people and they were salespeople. And the salespeople were already pushing a solution before we even knew what the problem was.
Right. Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. And so it's going to lead to, another blog post where we really do need to sell more solutions, not just sell more. And I know that's easier, maybe said than done. I don't operate with a quota.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to jump in. I do a lot of the solutions architecting here, and I'll tell people, they'll say, oh, well, you can do these things. And yeah, but we're going to start with do the risk assessment, and then let's figure out when's the right time to do it. What do you need our help with? Make the right call. I'm not going to sell you something because I think you might need it at some point. That doesn't help anyone.
Right.
I don't care if I don't make that sale.
Yeah. Well, that's,
do what's right.
When I do notice that, okay, so in a sales process, a salesperson will call somebody. Maybe it's a CISO and try to get a meeting, and that's really what their objective is to try to get a meeting. And let's say they get one, and then you bring, somebody like you or me, somebody who can talk security. Then the customer really seems to open up, or the potential customer, because I think they know that, if I'm at the meeting, I'm not there to sell you anything. No, I'm there to get you the right. What's the right thing for you? Right. Maybe it's not us. Well, yeah, and you make a good point. It's maybe there's no sale here at all. Maybe there's just a discussion. Maybe there's some just free advice. Do a couple of these things first, and then maybe. Yeah. There's something to do.
I've done that where they come in and I'm like, it's not, we can't really help you with that. I mean, here's a better option.
Right. Yeah. We need a pen test. Well, why? Why do you need a pen test? Well, because whatever, maybe, I don't know, last examiner said I need a pen test. All right. Have you done any vulnerability scanning before? Do you have an asset?
How about we start? Inventory? Yeah, exactly. I mean, what are we pen testing? My stuff. What is that? I mean, everything we have.
Right.
Well, how many external IPs do you have? All right. Let's start at the beginning here.
Right. Well, one of the things that in this one particular meeting that we were talking about was just business accountability. Right.
Yeah.
And so, especially as a business gets larger, it gets, I think, more difficult to hold the business accountable for, what they do in security. Right. So, let's take, I'm just going to take a hypothetical, take Wells Fargo.
Okay.
Or UHG.
A big bank or big enterprise.
Some big organization where you've got a CISO who sits on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, the CISO is the one who's in charge of kind of running the whole security program. But he or she can't do that without the business involvement.
Right.
Because it's not uncommon in a big company to, find a vulnerability somewhere and then you can't figure out who actually owns that application or who owns that system, that router, that switch, that whatever, right? Especially when you throw in like shadow IT.
Right.
And so that was kind of the thing that I was trying to figure out was, what's the problem here? And then how would you potentially solve for that problem?
Yeah.
There's nothing to sell.
No.
I mean, I could sell you so that was the challenge last week is I'm trying to figure out what the problem is and what are some potential solutions for it. And you have salespeople who are there to push
whatever
product.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for what just how I approach it, I'd rather, like you said, what do we need to sell or to work with someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather build that trust and say, hey, right now, no, here's what you can do.
Right.
If you want us to help, we can help. But realistically, if you do these three things, do you have the staff to do it? Do you have the knowledge to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go do that. And
right.
And building that trust with people, they'll come back when they actually do need help, right? Because you've proven that you're not just pushing sales, you're not just doing whatever to get a buck in the door.
Yeah, and so it was in a big going down the same route. So you have this big organization, and business accountability is an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just accountability in general. So I'm more of a top-down kind of thinker on this thing. So I was trying to figure out, well, is it possible to define entities within the business? And in some businesses, you might call it a business unit. In other businesses, you might call it a division,
right?
Whatever. But try to figure out what are my entities and then assign them as an entity type. And this is where we're going also with FISA score.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's different entity types too, right? I know that there in large organizations, in my own experience, there's been some that have their own sets of policies, their own training and awareness, their own governance. So that would be, in my mind, an administrative entity. That's what I would call it, just based on, kind of the nomenclature we use for FISA score. And then you've got other entities where they've got shadow IT, right? They might say, or they're supposed to follow your governance that's set maybe at the enterprise level, but they use their own technologies. They have their own suppliers. They have maybe their own vendors who do, IT stuff for them. Maybe they have their own cloud services. So that's a technical entity. It's a second type of entity. And then I thought, well, maybe there's a third type of it. Well, and then there's a third type of entity, which is like a physical entity, right? Where it's a different physical location, different facilities management, different maybe security staff, physical security staff. So it's a physical entity. So you get, and then you've got combinations of the three, right? You might have one that's got its own governance and its own technology, but it's in the same building as you. Mm-hmm. So it would be an administrative and technical entity, but not a different physical entity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have these combinations, and then I was thinking, well, and then when you can figure out kind of those boundaries, then you can put somebody in charge of you are responsible for this physical entity, this physical location, right? From a security standpoint, you're in charge of this, administrative or technical, right? So that way you can enable within the own organization, I can enable different technology stuff. I can enable actually shadow IT. You just have to be responsible for your shadow IT, right? For the security of your shadow IT. And so you sort of set up this construct and then do your assessments, right? But now you're doing assessments of entities as opposed to the organization as a whole. And then they roll up to the organization
more
as a whole.
Granular, more, I guess probably more realistic too.
Yeah. And I think you can manage it. Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a large organization and I've got 50 different entities of different sorts and types, and those 50 entities have their own, I guess, head or, security responsibility or something.
Right.
And those can all be assigned, and then they do their assessments, but using the same language that we use at the enterprise level, right? So we use FISA score.
Right.
They do all their little FISA scores, and then they all boil up based on, and this is where I think there's a close correlation to vendor risk management. So in vendor risk management, we do the second step. And once you do the inventory, so that'd be in this case, determining who all my entities are.
Right. Defining that. Yeah.
The second step then would be inherent risk. Some of your entities don't touch sensitive information. They don't deal with PII. They don't, whatever. There's just not a big impact. If this site goes completely down, it's not a big deal to the business as a whole, right?
Yeah.
To that entity, it's a big deal.
Right.
But to us,
Well, you mentioned that, and I'm thinking back on my own experience, right? Where I was at a place with, healthcare and banking and insurance and PCI, but not necessarily, each of those was its own business under the umbrella.
Yeah.
They had similarities from a technical perspective, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had some that had no sensitive information, some media type of things.
Right.
They managed all their own stuff.
Right.
That'd be, a really good, there's no one way we couldn't have done this across the board. We would have had to do it on each individual.
Right.
And then interpret it.
Right. And then I've also, so if you first, classify your entities, just like you'd classify your vendors, but I'm classifying my entities within the larger organization, then I know which entities, have the biggest business impact.
Yeah.
And the biggest security impact. And then I can focus time, resources, budget. And that would also dictate the type of an assessment that I'm going to have them do.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're this business entity that really is insignificant to the organization from a security or a business perspective, you get a real simple, easy
it's not as
type of assessment, right? Because it's just not that big a deal to me.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. And then I think it also helps with, like, I can define roles from the enterprise level or rules from the enterprise level where if the entity impact is significant enough, you must have, say, a disaster recovery plan.
Yeah.
So instead of having, so then you may have, because this is how an enterprise would do it, I'd have maybe 50 disaster recovery plans.
Yeah.
That all kind of boil up. So that was as I was sitting there listening to, I was thinking, this is a potential solution, something like this. And then the discussion went really well. It was about, well, what if this entity today is classified here, but then their business explodes, right? It doubles in size.
Right.
And it wasn't that impactful before, but now it's super impactful. How would you manage that? And I'm like, well, reassessments, right?
Right. I mean, it really is almost like, vendor risk management internally, right?
Yeah.
You have to assess annually to make sure the classification hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And adjust as necessary.
Yeah. So that's where when it started feeling like that was a potential solution, that's when the salespeople just kind of jumped all over it with VendDefense. And I was like, oh, hold up. You know what I mean? Think about all the work that has to go into it before you even get there.
Right.
I have to define my entities. That means I have to look across the entire enterprise and figure out how am I going to segment this thing?
Right.
Who's in
Yeah,
charge?
there's a lot of work to get to that point.
Right. I mean, that's hours and hours and hours of work to try to just figure that out. But then thankfully you only have to define that once, unless there's significant changes in the business.
Right.
But if you're integrated well with the business, which in most enterprise organizations, the CISO does sit with the business, you know what I mean? So anyway, that was kind of a solution. But the important thing in all of this is listening to what the client says and try to figure out a solution, and then repeat back the solution, repeat back the problem, so the client, because you know what I mean? You just, before you ever get to a point of selling anything.
Right.
And can we do that? Because it might be many, many hours of time to try to figure out, hey, this is what I think you told me the problem was. This is how I interpreted it. Is that right? Yeah, but there's this thing too. Okay. And there's that back and forth. And then it's like, well, I think this is a potential solution. And then the back and forth and back and forth. I mean, you might spend 100 hours and never, ever get a deal.
Yeah. And that's not what salespeople want.
Right. And the fact of the matter is, I'm fine with that. I don't mind spending 100 hours, because think of all the things that you learn along the way.
Yeah.
In this exchange. And I think if the person you're working with, if it's a CISO, if they know that the reason why I'm spending all this time with you is to get a sale, rather than the reason why I'm sitting with you is to figure out a solution to your problem, the whole conversation goes different.
Yeah.
If you know I'm trying to get something from you, you're not going to interact with me the same way.
It's not going to be honest.
Right.
You're going to be very guarded.
If I come to you as a peer who truly wants to solve a problem for you, and I could give two craps if I make any money, I want to solve the problem.
Right.
The conversation goes so different.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wonder how many, and I get it. I mean, sales is driven by numbers, right? I mean, if you're not closing deals,
right. Yeah,
that's how we measure your success.
I think, but yes, I agree. And I think what's different is how we kind of approach that. And having, myself or, a Chad or these experts.
Know the rule here.
What's that?
I said, you know the rule here.
Yeah. But you have an expert coming in that
right
at the end of the day, we want to do what's right.
Yep.
And, you don't have, at a lot of other places, especially with hardware, software, it's just get something in the door and then that's it. So yeah. And that's really frustrating.
It is frustrating. It seems desperate too. Like if I was on the receiving end of the pitch, I'd be like, this is desperate. Why don't you solve a problem for me? Why don't you understand first that I have a problem and that, you actually care.
I have this easy button. You just install this and it takes care of all your problems.
Yeah, exactly. So I figured you'd get, because you are you're not frontline, but you're that solutions architect who listens to customers all day long, not all day, but most of the day, has to interpret what they're telling you, into a solution. And either it's a solution that we already have that we do normal. It's a standard solution like a FISA score or, any type of an audit assessment, penetration test, vulnerability scan. I mean, those things that we do that are kind of standardized, but then there's those times where it's like, holy crap, this is going to take something completely custom, something we've never done before.
Yeah, we get that.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
That's where I geek out.
It is. It's fun.
Yeah.
So they'll be working on this week is one of those things that was like, oh, interesting. Yeah, we could totally do that.
Yeah.
Now we got to build it.
And I think it's funny too, because I used to get it. I don't get it. And maybe you do because I'm not in sales anymore. I'm just not there very often. But I used to get all the time, like, and how many times have you done this before? Or who else have you done this for?
Right.
And it's like, what you're asking is a completely custom solution.
Right.
Nobody has done this before.
Right. I'll tell them that.
Yeah.
You know, and it goes back to that honesty thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Either we've done similar things, but not exactly this.
Right.
We've got expertise in these areas, but not doing exactly what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and I think most of the time they're okay with that. They'd rather hear you say, well, you know what, we're building this custom for you,
Mm-hmm.
but here's our relevant experience and how we can show it. And they're like, well, all right.
Yeah. And we, you know, it's almost like share with them the methodology for creating custom methodologies. You know, there is one, and we
make it up as we go. No, not that.
We do. Sometimes you have to, right? Because one of the things that's certainly a truth is no two security programs are exactly alike.
Yeah, there is a lot of that. We joke about it, but you are right. I think. Yeah. You have a kind of a. I like to say we give our analysts like a playground, right? They've got the tools, they've got the structure there, but how they actually use it is going to differ slightly from everyone for every customer, right? Yeah. We can give them kind of the guidelines on what they should be doing and how they need to do it, but it will have to be, if we said everybody does it exactly the same way every time, it's not going to work.
Nope. Yeah. I mean, you don't want us to take Wells Fargo's security program and apply it to, Caribou Coffee.
Yeah. Or
it's not going to work.
Or even to, a $200 million bank. Right? It's just not going to work.
Yeah. Two totally different things. All right. So anyway, that was kind of my sales thing. And I'm not really ripping on sales at all. I understand sales, it makes, I mean, if you're a capitalist at all and you like your paychecks and you like, driving a car and living in a house, you have to have sales, right? But it's selling the right way. It's selling solution selling as opposed to product, cookie cutter type selling. Yeah. And listening to the customer, man, you gotta hear what the problem is.
Yeah. That is, it really is important. Yeah.
When it builds trust too, that's nice, because I notice that a lot of times when I am in those kinds of situations and I'm talking to a CISO, it's very closed at first. And then when you realize like, oh yeah, we have some cred here, and I'm really not trying to sell you anything. I really do just want to talk and see if I can understand. Because another thing that I tell people a lot is, as consultants, we steal shamelessly. I steal great ideas from CISOs all day long. I mean, it's like, oh my God, that's a great thing.
That's part of why I love this job, is you get to see so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, that's probably one of the coolest things is, talking to some of these people and then applying the best of what you see to other places.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun.
All right. So enough of the sales stuff, but do sell solutions. It I don't know, it pisses me off when people are just selling stuff for the sake of selling stuff.
I'll say our salespeople, I think, listen. I guarantee you they're listening to this going, yeah, thanks, Brad, because we've gone into calls where they're like, this is what we're going to do, and then I get out of it, I'm like, no, this isn't the right for this, or they think it's some big deal, and it's like, no, this is what they need, and it's a fraction of that, and we'll just do what's right.
Well, and kudos to our sales organization too.
And they accept it, right? They don't, if what the SA comes up with is, it is. They don't, they accept it and they understand.
We have amazing leadership here, between a great relationship too, right? With you and operations or in operations delivery and the sales group led by Drew Boki. Just a great culture of, no, let's do what's best for the customer. It's always got to do what's best for the customer, because our mission is to fix a broken industry. Our mission is not to get the sale at any cost.
Right.
Totally different.
Well, and what's amazing is all the salespeople here have bought into that.
Yeah.
And I think what they realize, and is when you do what's right and do that, the sales will come, right? And you'll do really well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to press. And the ones that have pressed in the past, they're not here.
That's the truth.
It just doesn't work. It's not the right fit.
Well, if you sell the customer something that they don't need, I run you over with my truck.
Or now the Harley.
No, because then it's going to hurt my Harley.
Speed bump.
Can't hurt my truck.
True.
The seemed like there was something else I was going to say about that. Yeah, but it does pay off big dividends in the end, right?
And like
people trust us.
Well, it all goes back to the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told people, yeah, we can sell you all this stuff, but if you spend all your money figuring out what the problem is and doing all these things, and you don't have any money left to actually fix anything, we haven't helped you.
Right.
What's the point?
Well, and the fact that we don't sell anything,
right?
In terms of like product, you can save that money and go buy the right product,
and
it's not going to come from us.
Yeah,
Well,
and we've had. Well, I'm even thinking, additional. What we need, we'll have them come in, and then we need all these pen tests, and we need all this stuff, and it turns out, they're like not even close to ready for that. Right? You're not going to get a $15,000 pen test. You're going to get a $1,500 scan.
Right.
Because that's what you need to start with.
And then you'll need to fix those things. And
then we can do it. Right. And it may be a year from now before you're ready. Well, why spend that money if you're not even ready? Use that money to fix things.
Yeah, totally. All right. So enough about that. The important lessons I had in my notes, important lessons from last week. And I think I just had, there's no one. I mean, I had like lots of lessons I learned. Been in this industry, and you have too. I mean, we're veterans, not, and that's not something necessarily to brag about. It just means that we're old.
Yeah. That's older than I'd like to admit.
Yeah. And so, there's always lessons, man. I mean, every day it's like you never, ever, ever know it all.
No.
And I think, if you're not humble enough to recognize that, if you don't live with enough humility, I feel bad for anybody you're working with.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, give me a lesson, or give me one, lesson that you learned last week that might be good to share. Can you think of one? I put you on the spot.
I know you
but
did.
It is in the show notes.
It is. I know. But then I had to do this IR, and my brain is broken. I think. Gosh,
we can come back to it.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I think one of the calls I had that I have to follow up with this week was really around, consistency that we on our deliverables, and I think we can always be better internally at our QA process, or providing our team with better tools to understand, hey, we did this last time. Here's what it was. It needs to look the same. And it's just, being better at, I guess, not winging it.
Sure.
Right. Like, I think you and I are really good at just winging it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work for everyone. And just kind of that's called it. They were really happy with the results. They really liked what they saw, but they wanted it the same so they could look at year over year and understand it better.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I think just being better at documenting this stuff so that the customer is happy that our analysts are in a position to succeed. And
I think my biggest things last week is, they're constant struggles. I need to get much better at time management. I learned about a new tool. So Ryan Cloutier, told me last week about something that he uses for time management, and so we were talking about that. And I'm excited for him to share that with me so that I can see how maybe I can integrate it with Wunderlist and some other tools that I use to kind of keep track of my time. But yeah, I mean, last week I could give you 100 lessons. It's just crazy.
So here's one for you. The Microsoft has the To Do, which was created by Wunderlist.
I don't like it though.
You don't like it?
I didn't. No, because with Wunderlist I can group my tasks a lot better. I can assign tasks to myself and to others. So I assign tasks to my admin.
Oh, yeah. See, I like it because I can just flag something in my email.
I did like that.
And it shows up and it's integrated a little bit better.
Yeah, I just lost some of the things with Wunderlist in that To Do.
Which is interesting because it's created by Wunderlist.
Yeah, but Microsoft got their hands on it. So
yeah, well.
They, just like anything.
They had to put their spin on it.
Right. All right. So good things, lots of things, man. For the listeners, I'm sure it's, all over the place, but man, that's what it's like right now. I mean, we're doing a lot of good things in a lot of different places and it's a lot of fun. If you want to be a part of it, come and join us. Either come and join us and work here. We have 6 open positions, or come and join us in terms of just collaborating on things, creating solutions together. We love helping people, and so get in touch with us. Now onto the news. Now I've got 4 news stories, and I noticed that your computer isn't.
It locked, and I couldn't get it back.
Okay, well, computer got locked out of his computer.
No, it's just I couldn't type right from this angle.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we are kind of sitting funny. Oh, hey, that'll be cool. So next week, I think we do the video live. We'll do a live video. What do you call it? Vodcast? Is it?
Sure.
I don't know what you call it. We have to talk to Brandon first, though. Get him to come in and
figure out how to make it work.
But then he'll do all the audio. Then you and I can just sit here and
talk.
Chill.
Yeah.
We don't have to do any of the tech stuff, because if you see our studio, it's a really nice studio now, but we're still running the tech at the same time that we're talking.
Right.
Which just makes it a little funky. Be cool just to sit back and
not have to deal with it
and chill. Yeah.
We're not audio people.
No. Or video people. You've seen
if people could see the before of, why isn't this working?
Oh yeah, we're always bitching about it. All right, so news. First news I got. There are 4 news stories, and again, if you want to see this, they're all in the show notes, so you can always go back and reference that. The show notes are evanfrancine.com. Just click on blog or click on podcast, and you'll see it in both places. The first one was, sort of interesting. This is from securityaffairs.co. I don't know if it's a popular site to go to. And the title is Cryptocurrency Startup Komodo. This is with a K, not the C one. Because the C one would not be a startup.
No.
Cryptocurrency startup Komodo hacks itself to protect its users' funds from hackers. And it's an interesting story. It's an interesting story because what was at risk was people's cryptocurrency, the wallets. There was a vulnerability in the Agama wallet, and it was actually a library used by the Agama wallet, an open source library.
Right.
And what they had to do, or what they did do, was once they became aware of the vulnerability, the security team at Komodo compromised the vulnerability in these wallets so that they could take the cryptocurrency and put it into a securer wallet, one without the same vulnerability. So essentially they ended up hacking themselves before a hacker
could do it.
Them. Because as you know, with cryptocurrency, once it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
So
it's interesting.
Yeah. So it's an interesting story. I give them credit because it's a bold move. I give them credit because, I'm sure there's ethical questions there, but at the end of the day, they had to make a quick judgment call, and they made the quick judgment call to protect the funds of their customers. Right. And I think that was the right call.
Yeah, I could see how it's justifiable to say, here's why we did this, and it was for the good of our customers.
Yeah, I know that if I was a customer and they hacked into my wallet and moved my funds into a secure wallet, I would I'd be happy about that. I wouldn't be like,
I'd be
what?
much happier than losing them.
You hacked into my wallet? How dare you?
Right.
I'd be happy. So anyway, interesting story. I've never seen that happen before.
No.
But anyway, it's good. The second one, this is about RDP, believe it or not. We never hear anything about RDP, do we?
It was funny. We had a customer, I think did we talk about this, where they were arguing over a pen test because they had RDP open. I think we talked about I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but they're like, well, it's not high risk. We have these. I'm like,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not.
You got RDP to open to the internet. You got a risk. You got a hole.
Right. Yeah. And certainly
Period.
if it's, if it's protected by simply a username and password.
Oh yeah. But even if you've got multi-factor or whatever, they're
targets.
It's additional risk. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So this article is from ZDNet, and the title of the article is "A Botnet is Brute Forcing Over 1.5 Million," and it's over 1.6 now, RDP servers all over the world. And the interesting thing about this is this is nothing to do with Bluekeep. Bluekeep has been grabbing all the news lately because NSA is begging people, Microsoft is begging people to patch these RDP servers so that, they don't become part of this worldwide worm. This is just RDP servers that are being brute forced, right? And it's interesting. I really like the research that was done here. Morphus Labs is Renato Marino, the researcher. 1.596, and it's over 1.6 million now RDP endpoints, and gave it a name, Gold Brute, which I'm tired of names, but whatever. Gold Brute works as good as any other. And the botnet works as follows. So first, the botnet brute forces and gains access to a Windows system via RDP. Second, it downloads a zip file with the Gold Brute malware code, scans the internet for new RDP endpoints, and then when it finds one, when it gets to 80, it then sends that list of IP addresses to the remote command and control server, and then it sort of just keeps regenerating, keeps going through. And so the target is the same target that we've been screaming to stop doing, is RDP with single-factor authentication, RDP with just a secure username and password. This is by far and away the most attacked probably system on the internet now. But this botnet is solely built to attack those servers and get those things as part of the botnet. And it's growing in size. So if you have single-factor authentication on anything really exposed to the internet, stop it. And I know multi-factor isn't going to protect you from everything. It's at least an additional step. Yeah.
And also, just put it behind a VPN.
That would be ideal.
Why expose your organization to that? Even if you have multi-factor, right? As soon as people find RDP, you're gonna get targeted.
For sure. It's an interesting article, though. It's interesting how it's working, and it does show because there still really isn't any significant Bluekeep traffic compared to what you see with the RDP brute force traffic.
Yeah, that was the most interesting part, was that only 3.4% is Bluekeep on RDP attacks.
Yeah, and 96.6 is not Bluekeep.
Yeah.
But, all it takes is, an active worm, and maybe that changes significantly. But anyway, that's the moral of that story. The next one, which I think was interesting, and I didn't see much in terms of news on this. This is from ZDNet. The title is Fortune 500 Company Leaked 264 Gigabytes in Client and Payment Data. And the name of the company is Tech Data. Big company.
Yep.
Whoops.
You and your team need to get things done. With Monday.com, it's easy, fun, and simple.
Closure.
Mention your teammates in real time.
Yeah.
Share files. Assign people to tasks. Stay in control on the go with our mobile apps.
Gotta love autoplay ads.
Seriously, I gotta turn that on again. All right. So anyway, tell me about it.
Yeah. So log management server leaking system-wide information. Company that found it, VPN Minter found it. They took a sample of leaked data, and it was a serious leak. So
264 gigabytes.
Payment info, PII, full company and account detail for end users, managed service providers, criminal defense attorneys, utilities.
There's some good data in there.
Private API keys, bank payment info, usernames, and unencrypted passwords.
Of course, because it's audit logs.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so not good.
Right. And so in last month at VPN Mentor, they found the 85.4 gigabytes of security audit logs from Pyramid Hotel Group that included Marriott, Sheraton, I'm just kidding, Sheraton, and Hilton locations. So I think the surprising thing here is Tech Data did respond to it. They did close it down. They responded to it quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah. So, the extent of the exposure is anybody's guess. But the fact of the matter is this was a configuration vulnerability. This wasn't a missing patch.
Right.
And it's a lot of data, really, really sensitive data. And it's a mistake that anybody could sort of make. Right?
I like the statement, the spokesperson. It's such a spokesperson-y. Based on what we know at this time, no evidence that the data stored on the affected server was misused for any unauthorized transactions or other fraud.
Right.
Well, of course they're going to say that.
Right.
How can they possibly know that, though?
Well, that brings up a whole nother can of worms, right? I mean, where's the burden of proof?
Right.
And a lot, you have the preponderance of evidence in a civil case, but I mean, show me that my stuff wasn't actually used, that it's not fraudulent. I mean, take Equifax, as one example. The Equifax breach exposed, well, I guess through all breaches, essentially everybody's social security number is exposed, right? Everybody.
Yeah, basically.
I've personally not been a victim of identity theft, but I know my social security number. Somebody has it somewhere.
No, I've had it. We had fraudulent tax returns filed.
Right. So just because that hasn't been used yet doesn't mean that I'm out of the woods either.
Right. True.
Something bad is going to happen. And
yeah. And it seems contradictory too. They said we don't store credit card numbers or bank account details, but the researcher said we found credit card information and payment data.
Right.
Well, that doesn't jive.
Yeah. Well, and so in audit logs, I think sometimes we forget that audit logs can contain and probably do contain some really sensitive information, and they need to be protected just as much as the target data does.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not just make sure that you're logging the right data, but also make sure you're protecting that log data, right? Storing it on an isolated system, storing it on, encrypted at rest, encrypted in transit.
Right.
It's sensitive information. So don't forget to protect that as well. Just because you're logging doesn't necessarily mean you're out of the woods.
No, not at all.
All right. And the last news I've got, and we'll see if I get another ad that pops up. This is one of the challenges of using this computer when you normally using my iPad for going through the talk. So Brandon will take care of this for us next week. So the FBI, this is from Naked Security by Sophos, one of my favorite titles of a
once you get
site.
past it's actually good. It got some pretty good stories on it.
Oh, yeah, always. So the FBI is sitting on more than 641 million photos of people's faces, which, it's not surprising that that's the case, but it's a lot of information. And how much of that information, because privacy is one of those things that we all believe, I think not all, but many of us believe is a right. It's a human right. And the fact that the FBI is storing 641 million facial pictures without any consent. I mean, I never gave them consent to store. At least I don't think I did.
And yeah, no.
But then on the other hand, I sort of want them to have facial recognition of criminals. So, but
the problem, and it mentions it in here, is that the accuracy or lack thereof.
Right.
So they've got all these pictures, but it says they misidentified, falsely matched 28 members of Congress with mugshots. Now, some would argue that perhaps there isn't a difference there, but
they should be. They should have mugshots.
The other one was the one out of London where their facial recognition software couldn't tell the difference between a young woman and a balding man. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, that opens up a whole nother can of worms with machine learning and AI, and you'd need more data, right? So 600, even this much data still doesn't give them enough data to have, because like if you want to do really, really good facial recognition of me, you would have to have X number of pictures of me.
Right.
And be able to compare those X number of pictures of me with X number of pictures of you.
Right.
Right. I mean, like probably hundreds of thousands of pictures of me, maybe millions of pictures of me, because I look different in different angles, different lighting, different facial hair, different.
Yeah. I mean, as you grow and
Yeah. So it's going to be a while before I think really facial recognition gets awesome. But I just, I'm not a guy who really trusts that. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy guy. I'm just not but I'm also a guy, I don't trust the government. I just see them do so many dumb things. I don't want them having stuff about me if I didn't give you consent to have stuff about me.
Right. Well, and I think also in there, it mentions the Georgetown University's Center for Privacy and Technology study. And that goes back to the machine learning and AI. There's an inherent bias in it for gender and racial.
Oh, yeah.
And it all comes back to, AI will build AI to fix the AI. We still had people building the AI, and their biases, intentional or not, will get in there.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. No easy button, no silver bullet yet. Ever. No. All right. Well, that's what we got. That was, I thought a pretty good episode. I was sort of covered a lot of things in today's episode, but I think there's a lot of things to cover.
There's never a shortage.
No, but I think my next episode, I will get a host in. I think somebody interesting. I was talking to somebody from DHS. Maybe we'll get somebody from Department of Homeland Security to join us.
That'd be cool.
Not sure.
Leave that.
Yeah, see, now you're thinking.
Oh, now I am.
Yeah, maybe get one of those guys from Quill even to come talk to us. They seem like they had a bubbly personality.
Yeah.
Might have to curb it a little bit. I don't know, because we're more laid back.
This early in the morning, I don't know if I could handle.
Right? My head will explode. All right. Well, good talk, Brad. We'll see if we have another week like last week. I'm hoping it'll be a little bit tamer for me.
Yeah.
But I do hope everybody that's listening, if you know me, I generally do hope you all have a good week. Enjoy. And don't forget, you can follow me or Brad on Twitter. I'm at Evan Francine. That's my handle. Do you call it a handle?
Yeah, sure.
My twit handle? Twit? Am I a twit? I'm a twit.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I am. And then at Brad Nye, BradNigh. That's Brad's. And then send us an email if there's something you like, something you don't like, or if you know us in some other way, maybe through LinkedIn or whatever. Send us a message. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us what you'd like to see. And that's it. I think that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the UNSECURITY podcast. We value our listeners and would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback by emailing us at unsecurity@protonmail.com. That's UNSECURITY@protonmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the latest insights from Brad and Evan.